Ladies and gentlemen, returning to the stage for another year at Cloud Expo in 2012, please welcome your MC for the week, Jeremy Gielen.
Whoa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, here in Silicon Valley. Here we are, Santa Clara, 11th Cloud Expo. Who would have thunk it? When I introduced 10th Cloud Expo on the East Coast recently, everyone went, wow, 10 years of cloud. So I didn't correct them. 11th Cloud Expo is going to be as full as the previous 10, so I'm not going to take up any time from any speakers, but I am here as conference chair to tell you just a couple of housekeeping things. Today, after you've staggered through the technical content, we have our welcome reception. Make sure you are there. These are our legendary receptions. Eat and drink while you explore the expo floor, which will open at 6:30. What's not to like about that? You'll have earned it by then, because, as I say, there's a lot of content to digest. We'll be touching base in this room frequently during the 4 days, so we can kind of take a litmus test, see how it's going. But one of the things that's clear from this keynote, one of the directions of the week is clear. So if cloud were a color, I suppose you'd have to say it was blue and white, or Oracle would say it was red and white. If cloud was a town, I suppose Amazon would claim it's Seattle, and everyone would claim their own. If cloud was a door, it would be open. So let's give it up, please, for Jonathan Bryce, Executive Director of the OpenStack Foundation. He is going to tell us all about why cloud, if it were a door, would be open. Come on, Jonathan, let's give it up for him.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's good to be here, and good to see a big crowd here. As Jeremy mentioned, I'm Jonathan Bryce. I am the Executive Director of the fairly newly formed OpenStack Foundation. And I've been involved in cloud for a while. I was a founder of the company that became the Rackspace Cloud. So we started doing cloud about 6-7 years ago now, quite a while, about as long as Cloud Expo has been around. And it's been great to see the movement that's happened, the trajectory that cloud as a technology and an industry and a way for people to change how they use their technology has really grown over that time. I want to talk today, though, about something that is very near and dear to my heart now, and something that I work on every day, and that's the open cloud, and how we should be thinking about it, and some things that we need to consider as we move into the next phase of cloud implementations, cloud technology, cloud software, all of that. So thinking back, over that time period, if you go back to some of the conferences that we used to go to 5-6 years ago, this was a question that we used to ask. We'd say, what is the cloud? How many people have heard of cloud? Well, now, I think probably everybody's heard of cloud. We are all using cloud. I am in the middle of getting a new phone, and that's my old phone and my new phone. And switching phones used to be a big pain. It used to be a headache. You'd have all this data, you'd have pictures, you'd have contacts. And now, these are both Android phones, and it just happens automatically. I connect, my contacts sync, my email syncs, my calendar syncs, Dropbox, et cetera, et cetera. That's a great example of cloud, and a way that it's making lives easier every day. That's consumer cloud. But businesses are big into cloud now as well. And it's really interesting to see that, just like I mentioned a bunch of different applications that run in consumer clouds, businesses have a lot of different ways that they're using clouds. There are cloud services like Amazon, like Rackspace, DreamHost, Internap. A lot of these companies out there that have hosted clouds that you can go put a credit card in, and a few minutes later, you have servers, you have storage, you have technology that's hosted in the cloud without really laying anything out, building a data center, anything like that. That was really a lot of where the cloud started. Now we've seen private clouds, we've seen hybrid clouds, and this is really what's started to happen over the last couple of years. This technology shift where it's not just about the cloud that's out there as a service, but it's about cloud in multiple places. How many of you have heard of RightScale? So yes, people are very familiar with RightScale. They're one of the primary cloud management platforms that's out there. And they recently released a statistic that said that 87% of their users are multi-cloud. So this is not something where everyone is going to a single place for their cloud. Clouds are all over the place. There are a lot of different types of them, and that's the path that's going forward. But it's definitely something that's being implemented, and it's being implemented in businesses of all sizes and in a lot of different ways. And as cloud moves forward from something that's been a sort of hosted service, something that maybe is experimental, maybe it's dev test, and then into production, and then transitioning legacy applications, it becomes a real strategic part of the technology platforms that businesses are running. And so I want to just hit briefly on a few factors to consider that I think are really important when you're thinking about taking a piece of technology and making a core part of your strategy for the long term. You need to think about some things. And there are obviously dozens or hundreds or thousands of things that you could think about, but I just picked a few that I feel are pretty important. So the first one, anytime that there is a big shift and a big opportunity like this, there are a lot of people that want to jump on the bandwagon. So it's really important to ask, is it really cloud or is it cloud washing? And there are no shortage of products out there that have a cloud label on them now, and almost no difference between what they were before they had a cloud label on them. I'm sure that you guys have seen some of that happening. It's really important to make sure that we are holding our companies and our vendors and everyone accountable, because cloud does come with tons of benefits. But it's also an attractive thing to go out and reach for as a marketing label. A real cloud, back to that first question, what is cloud, is something that's going to be scalable, elastic. You can scale it up, you can scale it down as your usage needs change. It's going to be something that probably lets you do self-service. If you are an administrator or an IT owner, it lets you pass on self-service capabilities to your users. Most clouds are API driven. They have a way where you can connect into that underlying technology and extend it, build on top of it, get more value out of it than just what comes out of the box in the product. And that's a really foundational piece of cloud. And if you can think of those things, and you can kind of use them as a cloud litmus test. If you buy a technology and you put it in place and it's supposed to be cloud, and then every time that one of your users wants to do something, you have to go manually do something as well, probably not a cloud. If you go and you buy something and you put it in place and you can't change it, you can't tie another tool into it, you can't get more value out of it, also probably not a cloud. So I think this is a good place to start as you go and you look and you're like, I want to take advantage of all of those great things at cloud. First of all, make sure it's cloud. The second thing to think about is that cloud does come with a lot of capabilities, and it can really put a lot of power in your hands for everything that's running in your data center. And I think that's really what cloud is ultimately about. It's about taking all of that technology that's out there and all of these data centers, whether it's our data center or whether it's a data center that you have resources in somewhere else, like Amazon's. You have a lot more flexibility and you have additional capabilities, and it's great. It's very powerful, but it's also risky, because if you get into a situation where you are tied to a specific vendor, you're tied to a specific technology, a specific framework, then you get to the point where your data center and your technology can be taken hostage, basically, and you're stuck with it. There was a kind of an infamous Joe Biden quote where he talked about how they want to put you in chains. If you've been in the technology industry for any time, you know that sometimes that's what's out there. People want to put you in chains. They want to put your data center in chains. They want to tie you up and keep you as a customer for as long as they can. That's something that is always a risk with any product, any service. But when you think about the power of cloud, then that becomes a huge risk, because you're looking at all of your compute, all of your storage, all of your networking that can be tied up. So you need to think about, how can I take advantage of this great power, this potential, this amazing breadth of capabilities that I can go and use and give to my users, but also not put myself in a position where I'm stuck. And the third thing is what I call the speed of cloud. And I think this one is another very important one to think about as you are looking at transitioning different technologies over, adopting new technologies. There are very few technology shifts that have advanced as rapidly as cloud, and it's really not slowing down. Cloud started out with storage and compute a few years back, and we've seen a whole range of networking activity right now. There's a Nicira acquisition a couple months back by VMware. I think just today there was an announcement of an acquisition of Viata. There's a lot of activity going on in this space, in the networking space right now. If you look at some of the hottest companies out there, you have companies like Box, you have companies like Workday, and these are all companies that are focused on creating cloud solutions for companies and for enterprises, and they're iterating and innovating really rapidly. The thing with cloud is that these are not just, this isn't a plant. This isn't physical plant that you go out and buy. These are services. And even if you're running them internally, you need to be running them as services, because that's what all of us are beginning to expect now. That's what your users are expecting. That's what I'm expecting. We want to be able to have updates constantly. And so there has to be a way for us to take advantage of that innovation, but not get run over by the speed of cloud. How many of you out there are still managing a technology that's been in place for 10 years? I see quite a few of you. That's what happens a lot of times. We see something and it's great, and we go and we grab it, we put it in place, and we want to take advantage of it, and then we're stuck with it. It hangs around for a long time. So it's very important to think about how you can get into cloud, you can take advantage of the innovation, but you're not going to be stuck with a 2012 cloud forever. I have a friend that bought an old historic home in San Antonio, and it's a beautiful home. It was built, I think, around 100 years ago. And San Antonio is a location that gets really, really hot in the summer. And it was one of the first locations in the world where they started installing air conditioning. There's actually the first air-conditioned skyscraper in the world was located in San Antonio. And this house had a very early air conditioning system. But early air conditioning systems were built kind of like boiler rooms. So there's this giant flywheel-driven air conditioning system that's stuck in this house. And it's not really the kind of air conditioning system that you want to have now. It was great. It was great technology back then, especially in a San Antonio summer. But that's something that once you build it in there, once you get something like that in there, built into the structure of the house, the foundation, in the basement, big pain to go and update it. And so you don't want to end up in the same situation with something like cloud. That's a real key takeaway there. So those are some risk factors. It sounds scary. Why is anybody going to cloud? It could be really dangerous. I think that really those are all vastly outweighed by the benefits that come when you go and you start to implement different cloud technologies. And I also think that as I look at it, there is something that can really help mitigate all of those. And that's really my main point today, which is that open is a critical factor in any of the cloud technologies. And there are a lot of different ways to define open, how open is something. going back to what makes it a cloud. If it's got APIs, that helps a lot, because now you have a way to get access to the resources, get access to the data, know what's going on in there. It's not a black box. That's a huge part of it. Beyond APIs, what about the data? What about whether it's structured data, unstructured data, blobs? You need a way to go and pull that out so that you can move it around. You need to know that if this is a software solution, which we're going to talk about OpenStack in a little bit, that it's going to have a friendly licensing scheme. It's going to have options for ways that you can get the technology and not be locked in. All of these kinds of things are really important, and open is one of the key ways to guard against that. I mentioned lock-in. There's this is, I think, one of the biggest risks with cloud. People going in early and ending up locked in with a proprietary cloud technology that is then stuck in their data center. That's not where you're going to want to be. And people talk about open clouds too, like OpenStack, and they say, well, you're still locking in, you're still getting locked into just to something else. But I think there's a difference between sticky and locked in. If you've worked on products and designed products, you probably have talked about how you want to make the product sticky. And sticky, to me, is competitive. Sticky is, I'm going to put in features that are so attractive that customers want to stay here. Locked in is anti-competitive. Locked in is, I want to force you to be my customer even after you want to leave. And I want to make it painful for you to leave. And so I think that there's a difference between wanting to go somewhere because that's where the features are, where the momentum is, where the capabilities that you need are, and being stuck in something that's a proprietary system. So open really can help you guard against lock-in because, again, open is going to have those APIs. It's going to have ways for you to get the data. It's going to provide you with options on multiple fronts for vendors, and it's going to really be a good mitigation for that. Going back to that speed of cloud, another thing that open can give you is really free access to that innovation. If you build a cloud and you go and you install a lot of software, you put some hardware in place, it's 2012, talked about how rapidly it's innovating. You go forward 10 years and we're in 2022. Are you still going to have a 2012 cloud or are you going to have a 2022 cloud? And in order to get to that 2022 cloud, how many upgrades are you going to have to pay for? If you are stuck on the 2-year upgrade cycle, you might have to pay for 5 of them. That's something that can be a barrier. There are people who are stuck on old technologies because they are architecting their system to optimize for licensing instead of architecting their systems to optimize for what their users need. And so an open cloud, an open system that gives you free access to that innovation is going to be a big benefit over the long term. As you look out, again, this is becoming a strategic part of IT. In 10 or 20 years, you don't want to have to raise your hand and say, yes, I'm running a 10-year-old cloud. And finally, open really is something that lets you decide what you're going to put in place, how you're going to use it. Is it going to be public clouds like Amazon, Rackspace, et cetera? Is it going to be a private cloud? Are you going to have to buy an entirely new set of hardware, or do you get to repurpose resources that you already have? You're going to be able to use tools like RightScale, or are those all going out the window? There's a word that that we actually, in the OpenStack family, have stayed away from for a while. It's agility. This is somebody out there. I'm surprised nobody called me on buzzword bingo. But I'm sure you hear agility thrown around all the time. I used to kind of hate this word. But what we found is as we've talked with our users, and as our users have gone and spoken, we have PayPal that I think is speaking later today, and they're going to talk about their usage of OpenStack. We have other users who are speaking this week and at other conferences, and they keep throwing this word out there, agility. And that's really what that key is about running it where you want, how you want, on the hardware you want, with the tools you want. It's flexibility, and there's IT agility for your operations. There's also business agility that you get by, again, being able to tie into those tools, being able to have access to the data, being able to connect it to your other business systems that are really core to what you do. So I think those three factors of openness really help with the risk factors that come with adopting cloud and with really going out and placing some big bets there. In addition to cloud washing, we also have open washing. And we have open washed clouds, and there's all sorts of combinations of this. And so in addition to thinking about, okay, I want to do cloud, I want to do open cloud, there's some other things to consider to make sure that you're getting something that's actually really open. You want to be able to get that data. You want to be able to take advantage of the innovation. And you need to ask how open is open. Some things to consider on this front. When you look at different open cloud technologies, what kind of community is involved? And how easy is it to join the community? And who all is playing in the community? The software, what kind of licensing is used for the software? Is the software feature rich? Or is the best technology held back? Is the innovation held back and not released openly? Is there an ecosystem? Is there a broad set of choices for how you're able to consume this technology so that you don't end up stuck with something? And I think I love open source, and I've been involved in open source for quite a while. So this one to me is important. What's the development process? Is it something where I'm going to be able to influence the roadmap? And if I choose, to actually directly contribute to it and make sure that it fits my needs. So that's kind of the general setup on how I think about cloud adoption, some key important things, as we start this next phase of growth and an implementation of clouds. As Jeremy said, my current job, I'm the executive director of the OpenStack Foundation, and I want to talk a little bit about OpenStack, because I think that OpenStack is where some of the most exciting work in cloud is happening right now. OpenStack is a community and it's software, and what we're building with OpenStack is a set of tools to build scalable and automated infrastructure clouds that can be used to run public service providers. It can be used to build private clouds. It can be used to sit underneath other kinds of cloud services, SaaS apps. And really, I think OpenStack is something that is a critical piece of the technology and the IT landscape right now. I believe that OpenStack provides a big piece of the answer for cloud and the future of cloud and open cloud. And I'm not alone. We have thousands of people all over the world from over 80 different countries who are involved in OpenStack, who are working on OpenStack with us. So, just a few things to look at on the OpenStack front here. Our community is huge. You're not going to find a bigger and more active community involved in open cloud right now. And you can look at a lot of different data points to determine size. And some people out there will throw out different statistics to try to lead you in a different direction. But when it comes down to people who are doing work, people who are implementing clouds, people who are writing software, you're not going to find a bigger community out there around any open cloud than OpenStack. And we have hundreds of developers who are working on OpenStack every day and making it better and better. It's also interesting too. If you want to know if something is growing, if something is doing well, one of the things you can do is you can follow the hiring. There are 900 job openings for OpenStack-related jobs in the U.S. And there are additional job openings in 50 other countries for OpenStack positions. So, if you wonder where cloud is going and where open cloud is going, there are a lot of companies who are out there putting their bets with OpenStack. There's actually a session later today that Nikki Acosta is doing on your career on OpenStack, and she's going to talk about some of the jobs that are out there. So if you're here this week and you are interested in figuring out how you can be part of the future of cloud, perhaps an OpenStack job is for you. Place your bet where that momentum is. I mentioned developers. This is our developer growth chart. If you look at who's been building the OpenStack software over the last 2 years, we've grown from about 20 in our initial release to over 400 in our last release in 2 years. So that's a lot of growth. That's a lot of developers from over 50 companies all over the world. And this is what they've done. They've taken the software from about 20,000 lines of code to 600,000 lines of code. They've taken it from a focus on basic compute and object storage to something that includes compute includes object storage, block storage, identity services. It includes really robust networking services. And this is something that this community has done together in a very open way, and it's awesome to see. And if you are a developer, if you love open source, this is definitely a place that you should come and get involved, because OpenStack is really one of the most exciting open source projects that's ever happened. That software itself, that software I mentioned, compute, storage, networking, a lot of other projects that go into it. We have an OpenStack booth in the Expo hall, and if you stop by, you can play with some demos and see it running in person, live in action there. But one of the things that makes the software so appealing to all of these people is the way that it's architected and designed. It has a very pluggable architecture. It's, again, very open. It has an architecture that allows you to tie in open source technologies or tie in best of breed enterprise technologies. On the storage front, we have a pluggable storage system, and on the back end of that, you can run basic Linux storage. You can run open source storage systems like Ceph. You can run proprietary and vendor storage systems. You can run enterprise storage systems like NetApp. You can run pretty much whatever you want. And what's great is that all of these companies and communities are coming and getting involved with OpenStack. So you get that innovation. Again, you're on the innovation train. And when NetApp just released an update to their OpenStack storage drivers just about a month ago, a bunch of new capabilities come in. All of that's there in the OpenStack software. One of our, because of that architecture too, you get to choose, again, how you deploy it, where you deploy it, what hardware you use. And one of our users was talking about how much improvement they see in the uptime versus their proprietary system that they were running before. And a lot of it is because they're able to build their system for exactly their use case. And when you get to large-scale systems, that's what you have to do. You can't just take something out of the box and it's going to meet exactly what your needs are. So this is the software is really good stuff, and it's built by that community. Another very strong part of OpenStack is the ecosystem of companies. We have about 200 companies who are involved in OpenStack. And these companies do everything from build tools, management tools like RightScale. They are hosting providers like DreamHost and Rackspace and others. They are storage companies. They are networking companies. They are all sorts of companies, basically anything in the IT space. And they're here because this is where there's center of gravity for cloud innovation in OpenStack. And these companies come here. Every major Linux distribution includes OpenStack now. So if you are a Red Hat user, they just released an update in their EPEL repositories that includes the latest version of OpenStack. Canonical with Ubuntu. Debian, SUSE has an OpenStack distribution. Fedora. You can go and you can get OpenStack on your Linux server with a few commands. That's a great situation to be in if you want to avoid that lock-in. One of we picked on Joe Biden's chains comment a little earlier. We can pick on Mitt Romney too. We're equal opportunity pickers here. One of our users said that what he loves is he's using a company right now to help him build out an OpenStack cloud, but there's a broad choice in who helps you build out that cloud, and so he can fire them if he wants. There's not a single company out there driving forward OpenStack. It's a huge ecosystem that has a lot of energy behind it, and that's really pushing things forward. We had a summit recently for OpenStack down in San Diego. It was just, I guess, about 3 weeks ago now, and it was really exciting to see all of these people who came from 6 continents, countries all over the world, And what was great is to see how much work was getting done and how much business was being done. One of our sponsors came up and told us that in the first 2 days of the conference, he'd closed over $1 million in deals on OpenStack. That's why the ecosystem is there, is because there's a lot of real business happening in OpenStack right now. So it's a good place to be, but it's also very good for users and for customers because there's choice and there are options, and there are people who specialize in different industries and different ways of applying OpenStack. And then again, the development process. That summit that we have is actually where a lot of the work gets done for planning out our releases. Every 6 months, we have a release, and then we go and we do planning. This is a picture from the summit. We have developers that come from all over the world. They get together, and they work on what are the hard issues that we're going to fix in the next version of OpenStack. What are the new features that we're going to push in there? How are we going to take this to the next level of scalability? And it's very awesome to see all of these people come together. About half of the people that were there this time, it was their first time. So again, it's an open and welcoming community. And that development process results in a lot of work happening and this community coming together every 6 months from all over the world, and it's really effective. It's a very important part of how we get done what we do. And I think going back to something that I've hit on a couple of times, this is a long-term shift, and there's going to be a lot of innovation that happens. So you want to be able to take advantage of that innovation, but you want to bet on something that's going to be around. And OpenStack is set up in a very sustainable way because of that broad base of support, because of that array of choices. We have an independent foundation now that is neutral. It's separate from any vendor, from any company, that's responsible for kind of overseeing OpenStack. And all of that means that OpenStack is going to be around for that entire shift, that entire time that cloud is out there being deployed. So it's a good place to go and get involved and take advantage of all of this. So I think this is at the summit again. We asked how many people were hiring. It's almost every hand. There might be a couple that are down. But if you are looking for where do you go with cloud right now, OpenStack is a great place to put your bet. We're hiring at the OpenStack Foundation. We have lots of companies who are hiring. I'm going to keep hitting that because one of the things that we need to do is we need to keep bringing in talent. We need more people who are going to come help us build the future. And so openstack.org/jobs, you'll go there and you'll see a lot of positions that are being advertised. But if you are trying to figure out how you take cloud and how you put it at the center of your IT, I think that there are some really important things to consider. But I think that one of the most is to make sure that you put your bets in a place that's open and that has a strong community, a strong ecosystem, good software, a good development process. And that's a way that you will be able to really take advantage of all of these benefits and be able to win with your cloud strategy over the long term. So we have a pretty big presence here this week. You'll see some of these signs as you go into the Expo Hall, the reception tonight. You can come stop by our booth. You can stop by any of the OpenStack companies that are here. They have this little sign. Talk to them about what they're doing with OpenStack. And I'd love to talk to anybody who's here as well. Now, Jeremy had asked me to save a little time to do questions. So we can open it up now, and you can hit me with anything you have.
This is in the spirit of Cloud Expo. We've always been keen on questions because Jonathan's come all this way, you've all come all this way. It seems absurd not to take advantage of it. Here comes the first question at 11th Cloud Expo from the gentleman on my left.
So what are the chances that Microsoft and IBM will join OpenStack?
So I can tell you on one of those it's 100% because IBM has already joined. So IBM joined. They are actually a platinum member of the OpenStack Foundation, and they have a couple of teams that are working on different parts of the compute infrastructure. So IBM is in it in a pretty big way. Microsoft is also involved in OpenStack pretty heavily. OpenStack, it often sits on top of hypervisors like VMware, KVM, Zen. We had Hyper-V support initially that was kind of community maintained, and Microsoft has recently built up a team that is actually maintaining that. So they have contributors as well who are helping to build Hyper-V support into OpenStack. So they're both in there.
Another question right here.
Yeah, hi. I like to know what is the criteria to become a member of OpenStack for a company?
There are a few different types of memberships that you can become part of OpenStack. There are individual members, which are just people who have an interest in OpenStack. You can go to openstack.org/join if you want to join as a member, and that's one way to do it. Companies who are building businesses around OpenStack can also join in a couple of different ways. There are gold members, there are platinum members, there are just supporting companies, and really depending on the level, there are a lot of different ways that you get involved. So if you're interested, you can talk to me. But the thing is that's really great about OpenStack is separate from the community, the development process is driven completely by contribution. And so if what you want to do is you want to join OpenStack and you want to submit code, it's a pretty simple process. You sign a license agreement that lets us distribute your code under the Apache license, and you start submitting patches, and they get reviewed and accepted or go through a review cycle. So there are a lot of different ways to join. Again, openstack.org/join is a good place to start if you want more information on that.
Another question here.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yes.
Any thoughts on, or is Google working on OpenStack?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that one.
That's a good answer for a good question. Who would like to ask the last question of Jonathan? We've got so much to get through. We're going to have to one more. Over there. Here I come. Here I come. Bear with me.
I'll rephrase the last question. We're a little itty-bitty Austin startup funded by spare change from our sofa.
Yeah.
And we're implemented on Google App Engine. And one of its claims is to be able to scale to 100 million users and get past the million user limit of conventional SQL databases. So how does OpenStack compare to that?
Yeah.
Good question.
So App Engine is a platform that is a little bit higher in the stack than most of where the OpenStack software is concentrated. Platforms, you write code and you push your code in there, and theoretically they will scale to whatever their limits are. OpenStack is something that is kind of at a lower level of controlling the actual compute and storage and networking. There are a number of platforms that run on top of OpenStack. So VMware has an open source platform called Cloud Foundry, and it runs on top of OpenStack. And there are a few others that do as well. So OpenStack helps you do all of the bare elements in a very scalable way. And so that does help those platforms to be able to have access to those compute resources and the storage resources that they need to scale your app out. But OpenStack itself is focused at a little bit lower layer.
As ever. Great answers, great questions. There are going to be plenty more over the next 4 days. Let us, though, for the moment, thank, please, Jonathan Bryce, Executive Director of the OpenStack Foundation. And you'll be around